Let's start it from the beginning. This is on X.
Listeners are also going to think that I'm nuts, but I'm doing it. Okay. I'm putting on my GM cap today and I'm going to make a trade. Okay. So, what I'm doing is I'm taking Shador at number two. I'm going to do the obvious right thing there. I'm going to take Shador and I'm going to roll with it and see how it goes. But then I'm trading back into the end of the first round with my second round pick and some other things. And I'm taking Tyler Shuck in the first round. I'm taking two quarterbacks in the first round. Okay. Two.
All right, so that's basically the clip of what she said. As you could believe, let's see if I can find it here. Let's see some of these responses. It might be a little bit too little for y'all to read them as I go through them. But I'll read them to y'all to see if people feel how I feel. This has to be some AI generated video because there's no way that this could have been real. I don't understand how anyone could think this is a good idea. I agree with that. My first thought was sarcasm. It's truly unbelievable. If you're that uncertain about a QB at 2 overall, that you're picking another QB in the first round and you're making two horrifically bad choices, I agree with that. Good point. If you give away draft picks to move back up into the first round to draft another QB, then what does that say about how you feel about Sanders at 2? I agree with that. I agree with all that. So just my quick take on this right here. Let me get back to my other screen for my next video. Let's see. All right, we got Bull up. There we go. All right. So to me, I think that if you're going to take a quarterback anywhere in the first round, you want to start to build out weapons around him. The Browns did not score a lot of points last year at all. I should have looked up the stat, but I mean, just going through the season, just watching the games, they didn't score a lot. So since they didn't score a lot, you want to put guys around the quarterback that you take. So you can't really give up, your second and third round picks, to add another quarterback because then you're not building around the quarterback that you have. To me, I want to see the Browns. I don't care in what order they do this, but on the offensive side of the ball in this upcoming draft, I want to see them take quarterback, running back, tight end, offensive lineman. And I wouldn't mind if they took two running backs because this is a deep running back class. So that's what I want to see on the offensive line. Total on the offensive side of the ball. So you can't give away, two or three picks just to move back into the first to take another quarterback. Every year, the media gets fooled by a quarterback that they just fall in love with for whatever reason. And that quarterback turns out just not being what they expect him to be. Last year's too soon. Let's go 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was Anthony Richardson. He could throw a ball over a stadium. He could throw a ball so far. He was so fast. His athleticism was there. I would say how I view an athletic quarterback, an extremely athletic quarterback, that quarterback has to go into the right system that's going to start teaching him the fundamentals of being a quarterback that throws the ball. Otherwise, that quarterback is going to lean on his athletic ability like he did in high school and college. And that could lead to that quarterback taking way more hits than they need to. If you remember famously, I can't remember the show, but Tom Brady was talking to Josh Allen, and he was telling Josh Allen, hey, you don't need to take all these hits. Stop taking all these hits. You want to protect yourself. And I remember someone saying to Anthony Richardson, I don't know if it was CJ Stroud, it was another quarterback. It might have been CJ Stroud saying, hey, man, stop taking all these hits. They're telling him, stop taking all these hits. Protect your body. So why that's important is because after last year or towards the end of last year, Anthony Richardson was talking about how bad his back is and how, basically it's hard for him to walk around the house throughout the week and all these things. And that's just because he leaned on his athleticism, but leaned on that athleticism with the combination of taking too many hits, you're going to have a quarterback that's going to struggle. So that's just not a good approach. I don't care if my quarterback can run a 4-3. Find me the 4-3 quarterback besides Lamar who's doing anything in the NFL. Trey Lance was very athletic. I mean, he can't even find a third string job. So Anthony Richardson, we see what's happening with him. His is more physically. I think he's kind of going through it. So, you know, find me this athletic quarterback. I mean, Daniel Jones he's pretty athletic. His best year, he didn't throw the ball as much as a normal, top 10. I think Daniel Jones went number 6. So he didn't throw the ball as much as a top 10 quarterback would throw the ball. When he did have his best season, he was, more running option, and they were a more running team. So, just the athleticism is not the thing for me. So I'm not blown away by, the guys who just look great at the combine. I'm not blown away by Shook, who he's been in college for 7 years. I believe he's 25 right now. He's going to be 26 when the season starts. And he didn't dominate. When you've been in college for 7 years and you've seen so much, I expect you to dominate the competition because you have the advantage when it comes to experience and what everybody else is going through. So this year, I think he might have threw for, I think it was 27 touchdowns and around like 12 or 14 picks. That's too much. Why would I take a quarterback who has had 3 different season-ending surgeries from injury and he isn't dominating the competition? I wouldn't go for it. So, that's banana in the tailpipe, setting you up. I wouldn't fall for it. So, but a lot of people are enamored by it. So we got this in the second quarter. This is more, I believe Mary Kay is on here with Bull. So let's see if we can skip ahead. Let's see. I think she might talk about it earlier. So let's see.
The bullpen with Adam the Bull brought
let's get forward.
Really good option. And now it seems like he's almost definitely going to go 1, even if it's not the Titans by some chance. But as time has gone on, I mean, I'm no expert on college quarterbacks and how they're going to translate. Man, the experts get it wrong all the time. But Shedeur Sanders has kind of grown on me over the last few weeks. And just because, I keep hearing people say that his strengths are his intelligence, his ability to diagnose. And it's a lot of the intangibles. And I feel like, okay, yeah, he doesn't have elite arm strength and he may not be an elite athlete, but there's plenty of good quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, for example, not an elite athlete, not an elite arm, but he's got all those intangibles. I feel like some of those other things can be taught and you can get better. But in terms of leadership, in terms of the moment not being too big, because there's pressure being the Browns quarterback, in terms of, being an accurate passer, the intelligence, the ability to diagnose, it seems like he checks all those boxes. So what do you think about him?
He really does check all of those boxes. And I think that those are some of the reasons why the Browns.
I'm going to pause it real quick here just to say nothing has changed with Shedeur. Shedeur hasn't thrown a pass that counts for anything. He hasn't led his team on any game-winning drives. He hasn't scored any more touchdowns. But I find it funny how the narrative around him is changing so much. Last week, 2 weeks ago, it was cocky and brash. Teams were wondering why he, was acting the way he was acting during the interviews. And we had the Todd McShay blowing air at us and we couldn't understand what he really meant. And then he went to the movie reference. And, now we have everybody. You'll see in the fourth quarter of this show how much people have changed their view of Shedeur when nothing has changed. He hasn't done a major interview. He hasn't done anything that would make people kind of change. Part of it is I believe that people believe that Cam Ward is going number 1. So now the speculation is no longer about Cam Ward. Nobody's going to talk about Cam Ward moving forward. They're just going to speculate about what's going to happen with, picks like 2 through 5. And they're just going to keep speculating about it up until the draft is here. That's my, early take. But let's listen to Mary Kay's response.
Are really excited about him and why they do really like him. They know how important it is to have the face of the franchise, that leader of the franchise. And sometimes teams will opt for that, what they see in that regard, that leadership regard, over physical traits. And that's what they did in 2018. They liked Josh Allen to a degree, but
okay, before Mary Kay gets to this part, I'm just going to say that I don't know if everyone has watched all Shedeur's games. They make it seem like he has 2 left feet and he can't move. He's really good with moving around in the pocket, continuing to look downfield to make the play. Is he like a 4-3 runner? No. But I want my quarterback to be a quarterback. I don't want my quarterback to be a running back. So they are overusing the athleticism term and how much or how athletic he is. That it's been overused this entire time when everyone is speaking about Shedeur, because I'm not looking for him to be in a foot race. I'm not looking for him, to be breaking 90-yard runs from my quarterback. I'm looking for him to diagnose what the defense is doing, have his teammates rally around him, and put guys in position to make plays. That's what I want. That's why you get playmakers in the NFL, because you want your quarterback to set up his guys to make plays. So I want him, if he's our pick, I want him getting the ball to Jared Judy. I want him finding running backs out the backfield. I want him to be able to go under center, run the play action. That's what I want him to do. I'm not looking for his straight line speed. If you are getting a quarterback for straight line speed, I think you are picking a quarterback wrong. And that's just my opinion, because you can't show me, 10 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL where straight line speed was their best trait, and that's what made them a great quarterback. So, I just think it's overused. It's a lazy way to say that he isn't as fast as Milroe from Alabama. It's just a lazy thing. And then to think about, he might not have the best arm. He might not have the best arm talent. If you think about it, so just go back the last 10 years and look at the quarterbacks who can throw the ball the furthest. Baker Mayfield, I believe, has the longest pass in NFL history. I think they said it has 75 yards of air time. But how often are you in a position where you need to throw a 75-yard pass? In reality, if we're looking, you want your quarterback to be able to hit a guy, 40, maybe 50 yards upfield. But how many 50-yard passes are you throwing? I care more about you being on time. I care more about your accuracy. I care more about your decision making. If we're in a position where our quarterback is always having to launch the ball 50 yards, that means we're playing from behind and we're just throwing up Hail Marys to try to get big chunk plays to try to get us out of whatever hole we in. So, once you just kind of think through what would be the scenarios where, your quarterback needs to throw the ball 60 yards, and how often does it happen? So it's just one of those things where I think it's just lazy reporting with how everybody just keeps using the same terms to describe Shedeur. And then when you have the former quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks, break down his film, you don't hear them talking about he can't get the ball where he's trying to get the ball to. So if they were saying, hey, he is trying to get the ball here and he physically can't get it there, then let's talk about his arm talent. If not, then what are we doing? We just kind of wasting it. So let's get back to the video.
John Dorsey really opted for Baker Mayfield's cockiness, his moxie. He really liked that in him. So what you're looking for is a culture fit. And I think that they believe that Shedeur stands for all the things that they believe in. I think they like his personality. And that's not to say that they don't like others, because they do. I think they really like Cam Ward as well. But I do think that Shedeur checks all of those boxes. And I don't think that they're worried that Deion will be a problem.
We spoke to Todd McShay earlier today, who obviously is a big draft guy. And when he was talking about Shedeur, he brought up the point that, Shedeur is really a good fit for Kevin Stefanski, that Kevin Stefanski, as we know, has had his most success with.
This is where I say, I'm not saying they're looking at my, post on X, but if you look, I said this 100 days out from the draft. I said that I believe the Browns would be drafting Shedeur Sanders. And the reason was his accuracy, on-time decision-making, his ability to make plays in the pocket, and him always looking downfield, and how good of a fit he would be for Kevin Stefanski's offense, because Kevin Stefanski wants a on-time quarterback. I said this 100 days out, nothing has changed. Shedeur hasn't thrown a pass, hasn't scored another touchdown. And now, a month out, you hear people saying these things that were evident if you just watched Shedeur in college. So it's just one of those things. I find it kind of funny that, I'm just a fan and everybody's agreeing with me now. It's kind of funny. So let's get back to it. This video also will play into what I said for the fourth quarter about, how they talk about Shedeur and how it's changed.
With quarterbacks that play, in rhythm in the pocket. And I think sometimes because Deion is his dad, I think some people get the misconception that he's like, making crazy plays and using his athleticism, but he's really not that type of quarterback at all. He is
If you were thinking because Deion Sanders is his dad, that Shador would be an athletic quarterback and running all around and making plays, and you just never watched him. That's all that is. It's just plain and simple. That means you never watched him. Because if you watch Shador, you will see that he runs to extend plays. Every once in a while, you might see him, do a scramble drill where he actually takes off and runs. But for the most part, he's looking to extend plays to get the ball downfield. So after watching, 4 games from Colorado, you'd have saw that you wouldn't even make that statement. You wouldn't even think that. So I think that's just, kind of people who haven't watched them, they would think that because it doesn't make sense to me.
He is a pocket quarterback. And so it seems like he would fit Stefanski well.
Well, first of all, Shador fancies himself a really quick processor and a cerebral quarterback. That's what he believes is his strength and his superpower. And whenever you ask him about that, that's the answer that you're going to get, that he's a great decision maker. And we know for sure that Tommy Rees, the Browns' new offensive coordinator, when he was asked what he values most in a quarterback, that was the exact thing that he said, that decision making, that quick decision making. You can make up for a lot of ills if you're getting the ball out quickly and you're making those great decisions. So they really do love that about him for sure. And no, I don't think he's erratic or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think he's got all of those things. And again, maybe what he lacks a little bit in just cannon arm strength or whatever, I think he does make up for it in processing speed and those kinds of things. Now, in terms of being a fit for Kevin Stefanski, I'm not basing my quarterback decision on what would fit with Kevin Stefanski. I don't think that's the way to go. I think that's the quickest way to lose your job if you're a coach. If you're going to pass on a quarterback who's better, but you think this guy fits you better, I don't think the Browns are going to do business.
All right, so I think this is one of those things you don't really got to explain. We have seen a fit we tried to put a square peg in a round hole with Deshaun Watson and work him into Kevin Stefanski's offense and play style, and it just doesn't work. And if you notice that, everything is about timing with the best offenses, and the best offensive minds, they don't necessarily need the most athletic, the biggest, strongest, or fastest quarterback. You look at Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, he does not have this blazing speed, and he wouldn't be described as a person who is running a 4.3, and his amazing athleticism is the reason why they win. Now, he does have an arm. He has an arm. We're not taking that away from him. He can make crazy throws, a lot of different throwing angles, but not athleticism like people say. You look at Shanahan, so that's Andy Reid. So everybody knows Andy Reid is great offensively. So we don't even have to say that. That's why I made that comparison. Now let's look at Kyle Shanahan, who many believe is great. He has a great mind. And he doesn't always have the most athletic quarterbacks. And his team still make it far. They still succeed. Then if you look at Sean McVay with the Rams, he doesn't always have, or close to never have, the most athletic quarterbacks. He's taken them to the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. He took them with Jared Goff, who's not extremely athletic. He's taken them and won with Matthew Stafford, who's an older quarterback, has had many different injuries throughout his career. So I wouldn't say he's the most athletic. So, as you go further and further down the line, you looked at, these athletic traits. It's not necessarily what you need. You need that processing power. Just like if you were building a PC. If you're building a PC and you're building a gaming PC, you want that thing to have processing power. That's what you need. So I believe that's what these offensive minds are looking for. They're looking for someone who can process what's happening in front of them pre-snap and then post-snap, and then make a decision based on that very quickly. So I think that's what they're looking for. Just only a little bit more of this. I think that Mary Kay is going to kind of go into. Let's skip ahead to this Tyler Shaw talk. Okay, I got his stat. I was off a little bit with his stats. So his 2024 stats. He was in Louisville, 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, 8-4. So I would say that's not a person who's dominating. This is a quarterback who is played 7 seasons in college. He was injured 3 of them. He's pretty good. He's pretty good athletically. People like his arm, but I mean, with so much experience and so much time being in college and being around the game, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I'm not looking at that like, man, he was just dominating. So let's hear what they have to say.
And I've had 2 people now, both Todd McShay and Sean King, say they watched the tape on him and he just really stands out. But that people are kind of forgetting about him because he's a little older and because he's had the injuries. What do you think about him? And do you have any sense if the Browns did pass on quarterback at 2 that he could be somebody they target either trading back up into the late first round or at the start of the second round?
Well, Bull, it's funny that you should ask me this question today because you probably did not see the Twitter storm that I got myself into yesterday.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
With a very crazy take that I had. And here it was, okay? And you might.
That's what we reacted to prior to playing this video, so it's kind of funny. We're going to skip past this. I think that in this, Mary Kay is going to talk about some other quarterbacks that she kind of encouraged or thought that people should draft. So let's see. Let's see if we can find that spot.
Well, when you go back to the 2017 draft, I'll tell you what, I remember vividly, and I probably said it on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show before, that in 2017, I was on Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and
she interviewed Patrick Mahomes early. She championed for us to draft Josh Allen in 2018. But I think those things are great. We're going to finish it up there with that video. I'm just going to give some thoughts on the end of what she said. So basically, she talks about how, I believe it was at the Super Bowl or after the Super Bowl. No, at the draft combine, actually, 2017, Patrick Mahomes' agent comes up to her and is like, hey, this is the guy. Tell everybody you know this is the guy they want to draft. Of course, the Browns took Myles Garrett, number 1 overall that year. And then 2018, she always talks about how she says, hey, she thought that Josh Allen was the better quarterback to take over Baker Mayfield, which, hey, I'll even give you both of those. But since then, when the Browns have been in these, QB situations and not believing in our quarterback the most, who have you recently evaluated with all this coverage and you've said, hey, I believe this is a good prospect? Because even if you listen to how she worded it, she said the right move is to take Shedeur. So my guess is when she gave that, if I was the GM, I would take Tyler Shough. My guess is she believes Tyler Shough is a good prospect. So then we can say, okay, in the 2025 draft, Mary Kay believe that Shough was a good prospect, and we can watch and see how it plays out. Because it's easy to, kind of cherry pick your wins when, one of them is Patrick Mahomes, one of them is Josh Allen. But the problem is we don't have Mahomes, Josh Allen. We don't have a top 5 QB. We don't have a top 15 QB at this point. We got Deshaun, who's injured, and we got Kenny Pickett. So since this team that you cover is still looking for a quarterback, who is the quarterback that you seen in the last 2 years or in this year moving forward that you believe will be good? Because if you are a good evaluator of talent, and even if you just specialize in quarterbacks, that means that you should be able to update your resume. So right now you're telling us about your resume from 8 years ago, which is 2017, and 7 years ago from 2018. So update your resume, put your name out there to a quarterback, and then we can move forward from there. Like me, I said that I believe that Shedeur Sanders go number 2, and I gave my reasons why and why I like him as a prospect. I'm tied to Shedeur. So if you go to my X account, you'll see that I don't take my post down. I leave my posts up. So, for instance, I thought that Kansas City would win the Super Bowl. Thought Pat Mahomes be Super Bowl MVP. I thought it would be a close game. I thought the Chiefs would pull it out late. That didn't happen. The exact opposite happened. And I still left that up because it's okay to be wrong, but just put it out there and then just let it ride what you see happening. So